Ever wonder what it really takes for an actor to just disappear into a role, especially one with so much historical and spiritual weight? Well, today we're giving you the shortcut. We're looking at Jim Caviezel, specifically the, well, frankly, unbelievable process he went through filming The Passion of the Christ. And just to be clear, we're not reviewing the movie itself. Our mission today is different. It's to sort of peel back the curtain, understand his transformation. How did he achieve that extreme dedication? Physical, mental, spiritual, and what did it cost him? We're basing this purely on the accounts you shared with us.
Yeah, and it's a really crucial deep dive, I think, because it really forces you to look at that thin line between acting and just enduring, surviving almost. We're talking about a situation where the personal commitment, the documented cost, it wasn't just part of the prep work, you know? It seems like it became the actual raw material for what we saw on screen, that powerful cinematic storytelling. The big question is, how much of that suffering you see? How much was performance and how much was just the real-time toll of it all, the role, the environment?
Right. Let's start right there, actually, the physical toll. Because people talk about the makeup, the effects, but the accounts we have make it clear. His performance was rooted in genuine physical challenge, pain, really. It feels like reality was informing the art in the most direct way possible.
Absolutely. And we have to look at the specifics, you know. The details really bring it home. This wasn't just method acting discomfort. It was genuinely dangerous at times. Sources talk about the extreme cold on set, like the kind of cold that leads to actual hypothermia and pneumonia, too, both of which he reportedly suffered from.
Wow.
Yeah. I mean, the role required him to be exposed, vulnerable, physically battered. It literally blurred the line between the character's suffering and the actor's physical reality.
And that iconic image, him carrying the cross, that wasn't always some lightweight prop, was it?
No, not at all. The accounts mention the sheer weight, the bulk of it in certain scenes, and the direct result, actual injuries, including a dislocated shoulder.
A dislocated shoulder, you can't fake that level of pain. That's not something you just act through easily.
Exactly. And that's what's fascinating, understanding the implication there. Many actors research, maybe they change their diet, learn a skill, but few actively incorporate, you know, physical damage into the process like this.
Right.
His body was physically breaking down under the strain, the elements, the choreography, so that grimace you see, that labored breath. That isn't just simulated fatigue. The sources suggest it's the real deal, the cumulative effect of real, sustained physical stress.
That's the trade-off then. Authenticity for actual pain.
Seems like it.
It makes a lot of sense. When you're out there, performing in freezing temperatures for hours, battling wind, rain, misery becomes kind of involuntary, doesn't it?
Yeah.
You're not just acting cold. You are cold, freezing.
And that relentless environmental pressure just magnified everything. The physical demands went up exponentially.
It raises a great point about method acting, actually.
Yeah.
We often think of it as, internalizing emotion, getting into the character's head. But this sounds almost like radical physical method acting.
That's a good way to put it.
Where the environment, the props, they're almost allowed to inflict their will on the performer, all to get that raw visual power.
Yeah, to achieve that perceived authenticity.
Okay, let's unpack this a bit more, though.
Yeah.
Because if we only focus on the pain, the physical side, we miss half the story, right? We need to pivot. Look at the internal framework he used to even endure it. Let's talk about the spiritual dimensions of his commitment. Because by all accounts, that was just as intense.
Oh, absolutely. And what's fascinating here, reading through the sources, they repeatedly suggest his internal experience wasn't just, finding the character's motivation in the usual acting sense. It really sounds like it was a deeply spiritual process for him.
How so?
Well, think about it. To withstand that level of physical demand day after day, you'd need to be incredibly grounded, wouldn't you? And the way he reportedly found that grounding, it was through prayer, continuous prayer.
Right. I saw that mentioned frequently. It wasn't just a casual thing. People on set observed him praying between takes. Like an active, ongoing spiritual practice happening right there amidst the chaos of filming.
Exactly. Which suggests the spiritual weight of the role wasn't something he just, switched on for the cameras. It sounds more like a state he was trying to live in constantly during that period.
Maintaining that connection.
Yeah. And if we try to connect this to the bigger picture, that spiritual dedication, maybe it wasn't just about religious devotion in the abstract. Perhaps it was also a profound psychological coping mechanism, an emotional anchor.
How do you mean?
Well, how do you face simulated torture, real injuries, freezing cold, day in, day out? As an individual, as Jim Caviezel, you maybe connect to a source of strength that feels bigger than the temporary pain, right?
Okay.
The sources imply that this spiritual focus allowed him to kind of frame the suffering differently, maybe see it as service or something meaningful, which in turn made it bearable, endurable.
That definitely reframes the whole effort, doesn't it?
Yeah.
It wasn't just deep commitment, it was maybe a necessary survival strategy for the shoot itself.
It certainly seems plausible from the accounts.
And speaking of extreme circumstances, we can't not mention it. That detail about the lightning strike.
Ah, yes, that detail is, well, it's critical, I think, for understanding just how unique, how almost surreal this whole filming environment was.
Getting struck by lightning, even indirectly, that's terrifying.
Absolutely terrifying, and it would immediately elevate the stakes for everyone there. It kind of further blurs that line between a normal film set and something else, something with an almost mythological weight to it.
Yeah, it adds this extra layer of almost cosmic significance, doesn't it?
Yeah.
Especially given the subject matter of the film. It sort of solidifies this narrative that this wasn't just another acting job for him, it was an ordeal, something that genuinely transformed him internally.
He carried the scars, apparently, both physical and, you'd imagine otherwise, long after they called cut.
And this is where that idea of transformation really comes into focus, isn't it?
I think so. It moves beyond just preparing for a role. It starts to sound like a genuine alteration of the self.
Wow.
The interviews that the sources reference, they seem to confirm his own sense that he was fundamentally changed by it all.
Right.
It sounds like he didn't just play the part, he sort of absorbed it, internalized the suffering maybe, but also the spiritual fortitude needed to withstand that suffering.
Okay, so here's where it gets really interesting for me. Let's talk about the cumulative impact. You've got this profound physical cost on one side and this intense spiritual intensity on the other. What happens when you put those together?
Well, you see that transformation reflected directly in how the film itself landed, I think. The accounts describe the final product using words like powerful cinematic storytelling.
Sure, but it's the other adjectives that are the real giveaway,
Like-
aren't they? The ones used by critics, by audiences.
Exactly. They weren't just calling it, a great historical epic or a visual spectacle, though maybe it was those things too. The sources confirm the descriptions that came up again and again were words like emotional, spiritual,
Yeah,
and deeply moving.
right. Those words speak to something deeper than just technique. They speak to perceived authenticity, don't they? A resonance that maybe came directly from his willingness to go to that extreme edge, that personal commitment.
It seems like the commitment became the narrative device, in a way.
How do you mean?
His documented struggle against the weather, the cross, the injuries,
Combined with that visible internal spiritual struggle.
they sort of fused together, synergized, to create a performance that just felt utterly real to people watching all over the world.
The intensity itself became the vehicle for the depth of feeling people experienced.
I think that's a fair assessment based on the sources. And if we connect this to the bigger picture, it suggests something important. When an actor makes that kind of profound trade-off, sacrificing comfort, health, personal ease, maybe the final product gains this layer of immutable reality.
He can't separate the performance from the documented suffering behind it.
Exactly. That genuine pain, that spiritual dedication, it became fused into the performance itself, achieving a kind of powerful emotional truth that maybe pure technical skill on its own couldn't quite reach. It really feels like the ultimate example of sacrificing the self for the role.
So what did this all mean for you listening to this deep dive? We've seen that understanding this really iconic performance. It means looking beyond just acting technique. You require this intense two-pronged commitment, a physical submission to the elements, to injury, and at the same time, this deep spiritual immersion that seemed to act as a psychological anchor. This dual reality, the injury and the faith, it seems to be the engine that drove the film's incredible impact.
Yeah, and it really raises an important question, I think, one that goes beyond just this film, maybe beyond cinema altogether. If you look at any great artistic work that demanded extreme sacrifice from its creator, how essential is that personal cost, the documented journey to how we, the audience, perceive its authenticity, its power? Can you achieve that truly unforgettable impact without that documented level of genuine, maybe even self-inflicted commitment and transformation? How inseparable is the journey from the power of the final piece?
That's a heavy thought to consider. Something to maybe mull over next time you watch a performance that really, truly grips you. Well, thank you for joining us for this intense look at dedication, transformation, and cost. We'll see you for the next deep dive.